Earlier this month, Governor Spencer Cox led a trade mission to Israel and the United Arab Emirates. Why is that? Of course, to help Utah businesses, about making connections, about developing friendships overseas. We wanted to get some insight in how it went, what was accomplished, what were some of the successes, and most important, what comes next. So we're really pleased to have joining us on the program today, Jake Glenn. John Glenn, I just made you an astronaut. Jake Glenn, who's the trade mission organizer at World Trade Center, Utah. Jake, thanks for jumping on with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, so tell us just a little bit. We know the trip took place between September 8th and the 17th. Start with just the agenda. What was the purpose, specifically for the governor and for those that went? What was the objective?
Absolutely. So broadly speaking, the purpose of the trip was to help support Utah's world-class economy and help Utah companies grow internationally. And that can take a variety of different shapes, whether it's helping them increase their international sales into the Middle East, or help them find new suppliers or technology partners, or even investment from the Middle East to help them grow their businesses and make them more competitive around the world. And it was a really successful trip. We had a large delegation, over 60 participants, divided into different tracks at the same time so we could maximize the time we had on the ground.
So important, and we often talk about Utah being not just the crossroads of the West, but a crossroads to the world. And give us some examples, Jake, in terms of some of those tracks, some of those things where connections were made, and how that will help Utah be that crossroads to the world.
We had several different tracks, as I mentioned, business tracks with focuses on life sciences, healthcare innovation, and also aerospace. They were focused on business-to-business meetings, meeting with investment funds, with potential distributors, and with other partners. And we also had a group of our public elected officials and executive agency heads there looking at best practices in public policy to promote Utah's innovation ecosystem and help the economy overall maintain its competitive edge. And the governor, of course, having his leadership there to support those different tracks at various points throughout the schedule, just really emphasized, the importance of state places on promoting Utah's economy and helping make us the crossroads of the world, as he said.
Give us a little perspective in terms of the reception you received over there. How do those in Israel and the United Arab Emirates perceive Utah and what it has to offer?
We had a really warm reception in both countries. As you know, Israel and the UAE recently signed the Abraham Accords in 2020, which helped normalize their diplomatic and trading relationship. And they're really excited to build on that, to engage with the United States. And with Utah in particular, there were so many similarities that we saw and that our partners over there saw as well, in terms of the entrepreneurial spirit that we have, the innovation that comes out of our state, and also some of the common challenges that we face. Being in a desert climate, we had a lot to share and learn about water technology, water management, and how to manage growth and population and development. There's so many commonalities, and there's just so much warmth on both sides that we have a lot to build on.
Oh, that's great. And when you look at these kinds of trips, I want to kind of break it down just a little bit. Some people look at trips like that and say, oh, that's just a nice junket. That's a good way for everyone to go travel. I think one of the things that makes this trip unique was this combination between the state and World Trade Center, Utah. And when you're looking at entering new markets, there's really only two ways to do that. And one is just that really expensive, really slow process. And the other is trips like this that can really accelerate. Just give us some of the dynamics in terms of how that played out.
You're absolutely right. There's so many challenges and some barriers to entry in terms of regulation or just making the right contacts when you're going overseas, and particularly far where the language is different and the distance is great. And so going with a trade mission with some of our public officials there, it really gets our counterparts in the other country excited, opens the doors, and they bring in their highest level officials into the room to meet with our Utah companies who get the most value out of the trip that way. Like I said, we had several different tracks. So at any one point during the itinerary, we had 5 or 6 or 7 meetings going on simultaneously, which helped us maximize the value that we're bringing back to the state from the short time we spent out there. and make sure that we could have everyone have individual business-to-business conversations and make individual contacts specific to their company to help them drive value and bring back new jobs for the state of Utah.
Wonderful. And talk about some of the next steps. So after this kind of excursion, what comes next? What do you hope the things that we all should be watching for in the months ahead?
This is so important, and it's something we pay a lot of attention to. We're actually finishing up now a recap and kind of an after action or follow-up items for us to do and help our companies do to build on the successes. A lot of the follow-up will take place at the individual company-to-company level. And then we also are going to reach out to other Utah companies to help them benefit from the connections that we made. And so we encourage all Utah companies, we're doing this day in and day out, helping make Utah the crossroads of the world and connect Utah companies with those global opportunities. And so if people have a business here in Utah, they'd like to expand into the Middle East or look elsewhere in the world to grow their business, please get in touch with us at World Trade Center Utah. Visit our website at WTCutah.com. Send us an email. Let's see how we can help you also leverage these connections we made on this trade mission and just add that much more value for the state of Utah.
Great insight. Jake Glenn is the trade mission organizer at World Trade Center Utah. Again, this was a really important delegation trip over to Israel and the UAE with the governor and World Trade Center Utah and a number of folks from the business community as well. These are important relationships, important connections that will benefit all of us here in the state of Utah, Utah businesses in particular, but that creates jobs and opportunity and really keeps us as a thriving place. Jake Glenn, again, thank you so much for joining us. Great work, great efforts, and we'll look forward to more good things coming out of this trip in the months ahead.